Hello, this is Willie from the Ozarks, and it is February the 14th, and we're ready for lesson 73. I will there be light. I will there be light. All right. I will there be light. Yesterday's lesson, holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. There was a lot to keep in mind yesterday. I hope you made some success. Lesson 72, we were supposed to ask ourselves, what is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. That was in our longer exercise periods. Throughout the day, it said at least once an hour, twice an hour, whatever. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Let me accept it instead. What is salvation, Father? So we were to do that. It said that our goal in the longer practice period yesterday was to become aware that God's plan for salvation has already been accomplished in us because of who we are. We're God's Son, and everything that He gave us in our creation. We are just like the infinite creator of infinity. Did you get a little sense of that? Keep that in mind, because we're going to keep building on that. Maybe it's getting easier for you to find that quiet place inside where all the thoughts are at peace, the vast circle of light that includes everyone and everything. And remember, one of the things that we really want to get a good sense that holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Let me accept it instead. What is salvation, Father? Okay, so this was what we're to be remembering, that holding grievances is not just holding grievances towards the person you're holding the grievance towards. It's also holding the grievance toward God's plan for your happiness, for your salvation, for your awakening. And I said salvation was so much more than happiness, if anything could really be more than happiness. But there's some things that the word happiness doesn't really express. And maybe there's no words that can really express our salvation, our oneness with God. Our connection with each other is part of it. Recognizing that you can't ever lose your connection with each other. And we want to be joyful members of this one family. We want to be accepting, not judgmental, not rejecting. That was our method is instead of attack, we offer acceptance. All right? Okay, hey, I got some really nice looking parsley plants today. And, these things are very cold hardy. They'll get down, I've heard, down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit and still be fine. You don't want them to be little seedlings, but these ones are up and good enough that they probably could withstand that. So they could go out right away. All right, so there are things that we can be putting out. I've got flowers blooming, little daffodils. I think that's what they are. Yeah, there's a difference between a daffodil and a crocus, and I'm not real sure. They're both real similar. Okay, I will there be light. We're ready for our reading. Was there anything else I wanted to say about yesterday's? I'm glad to have you along. Seriously, it's really nice to have everyone on this journey. Okay, I will there be light. Let's go ahead and go. Today we are considering the will you share with God. This is not the same as the ego's idle wishes, out of which darkness and nothingness arise. The will you share with God has all the power of creation in it. The ego's idle wishes are unshared and therefore have no power at all. They're unshared. Therefore, they have no power at all. That implies that it's our connection with each other, our sharing, our oneness is where the power's at. Its egos, its wishes are not idle in the sense that they can make a world of illusions in which your belief can be very strong. But they are idle indeed in terms of creation. They make nothing that is real. So, in the dream, you might actually believe that the dream head had a collision and got broken open and you died. But that's in the dream world. There's a real world that same dream you would have wakened from. I'm thinking of a funny thing that Paramahansa Yogananda said one time, and he talked about how that the dream head driving the dream car into a dream tree still results in a dream death. Anyway, so that's what he's saying here. It may seem real, but reality cannot be, nothing real can be threatened. All right? Number 2. Idle wishes and grievances are partners or co-makers in picturing the world you see. The wishes of the ego gave rise to it, and the ego's need for grievances, which are necessary to maintain it. The ego's need for grievances, which are necessary to maintain it, peoples it with figures that seem to attack you and call for, in quotes, righteous judgment. They become the middlemen the ego employs to traffic in grievances and stand between your awareness of your brother's reality. They become the middlemen the ego employs to traffic in grievances and stand between your awareness and your brother's reality. That's a little better way. I didn't read it right. So we want to be having our awareness in our awareness. And in order to do that, we have to accept our brother's reality as just as good as we. We're part of the one. That's what I keep calling the body of Christ. Okay? That's what the Bible called it. Lord thy God is one. That's an Old Testament saying. Paragraph 3. Your will is lost to you in this strange bartering, in which guilt is traded back and forth and grievances increase with each exchange. Can such a world have been created by the will the Son of God shares with his Father? Did God create disaster for his Son? Creation is the will of both together. Would God create a world that kills himself? Well, the answer is obviously no. But look how important forgiveness is. It's what lifts us up and we lose awareness when we do this strange bartering of seeing people that are wrong, that we use judgment and guilt and grievances. This makes us lose our awareness of our identity. Paragraph 4. Today we will try once more to reach the world that is in accordance with your will. The light is in it because it does not oppose the will of God. It is not heaven, but the light of heaven shines on it. Darkness has vanished. The ego's idle wishes have been withdrawn. Now we're seeing motivation to withdraw the ego's idle wishes and to let our true will have its place in this experience. 5. Yet the light which shines upon this world reflects your will, and so it must be in that we will look for it. Your picture of the world can only mirror what is within. Your picture of the world can only mirror what is within. The source of neither light nor darkness can be found without. Grievances darken your mind, and you look on a darkened world. Grievances darken your mind, and then you look out on a darkened world. Forgiveness lifts the darkness. Forgiveness. Let go of the grievances. That's forgiveness. Forgiveness lifts the darkness, reasserts your will, and lets you look upon what? A world of light. That's where we're going. We're getting there more and more. Every time we go into those extended periods, and even then the short ones during the day, we'll keep revisiting the kingdom of heaven within, the kingdom of light, the place of peace, where our will is one with all, where we see the good. All right? We want to get really good at being there so that we never really ever leave. And that means we're still in this world, having the world's experience, but we bring heaven with us. That's what we want. 6, we have repeatedly emphasized that the barrier of grievances is easily passed and cannot stand between you and your salvation. The barrier of grievances is easily passed and cannot stand between what? You and your salvation. The reason is very simple. Do you really want to be in hell? Do you really want to weep and suffer and die? Forget the ego's arguments which seek to prove all this is really heaven. You know it is not so. You cannot want this for yourself. There is a point beyond which illusions cannot go. There is a point beyond which illusions cannot go. Suffering is not happiness. That's where illusions cannot go. If you're having suffering and you're still in pain, you're still feeling upset, hurt, discouraged, vulnerable, all those negative things, well, you know you haven't reached the kingdom of heaven. And you don't have to die to get to the kingdom of heaven, unless you're calling death the death of the ego, the letting of that illusion go. Well, then we can call death the way to life, but only in that sense. You don't die physically to get to heaven. Matter of fact, you can only get there in life, which is now. Paragraph 7, suffering is not happiness, and it is happiness you really want. Such is your will in truth, and so salvation is your will as well. You want to succeed in what we are trying to do today. We undertake it with your blessing and your glad accord. We undertake it with your blessing and your glad accord. We don't want to go into this feeling like we're resistant, because you can't get there that way. We want to go with your blessing, that you want this. This is what's going to make you happy, to forgive everybody all the time for everything. That's what's going to make you happy, to hold no judgments towards anyone, to see everyone as your dear friend. All right? Paragraph 8. We will succeed today if you remember that you will salvation for yourself. We will succeed today if you remember that you will salvation for yourself. You will to accept God's plan because you share in it. You have no will that can really oppose it, and you do not want to do so. Salvation is for you. Above all else, you want the freedom to remember who you really are. Self-realization. Above all else, you want the freedom to remember who you really are. So in order to remember who you are, you need the freedom. And to get the freedom, by going through the veil of grievances. All right? Paragraph 9. Today it is the ego which stands powerless before your will. Your will is free, and nothing can prevail against it. Therefore, we undertake the exercises for today in happy confidence, certain that we will find what it is your will to find and remember what it is your will to remember. What is your will to find? What it is your will to remember? or what it, to find and remember what it is your will to remember. No idle wishes can detain us, nor deceive us with an illusion of strength. Today let your will be done, and end forever the insane belief that it is hell in place of heaven that you choose. We've been looking upside down at the world, but now we're going back to our true self, our true mind. We're going beyond the cloud patterns. We're going back into the inner sanctuary of our being, that it's everywhere, the vast circle, which includes everything that's real and everyone is real at that level. Paragraph 10. We will begin our longer practice periods with the recognition that God's plan for salvation, and only His, is wholly in accord with your will. God's plan for salvation, and only His, is in accord with our will. It is not the purpose of an alien power thrust upon you unwillingly. It is the one purpose here on which you and your Father are in perfect accord. 11. You will succeed today, the time appointed for the release of the Son of God from hell and from all idle wishes. His will is now restored to his awareness. He is willing this very day to look upon the light in him and be saved. He is willing this very day to look upon the light in him and be saved. 12. After reminding yourself of this and determining to keep your will clearly in mind, tell yourself with gentle firmness and quiet certainty. Tell yourself with gentle firmness and quiet certainty. I will there be light. Let me behold the light that reflects God's will and mine. Let me behold the light that reflects God's will and mine. Then let your will assert itself, joined with the power of God and united with yourself. Put the rest of the practice period under their guidance. Join with them as they lead the way. Wow. Let your will assert itself, joined with the power of God and united with yourself, your true self, the capitalized self. Put the rest of the practice period under their guidance. Whose? God's and your highest self. Join with them as they lead the way. Your will and God's are one. Join with that will back to the bright light of bliss and happiness, your true self. Where you remember yesterday we were supposed to get to that place of getting a sense of realizing that our will and God's are one. We're doing it stronger today. This is at our deepest self, not the part of ourself that Yogananda called the alloyed self. That's the part that's mixed, earth man and spirit man, ego and spirit, or self, ego and self, carnal nature and God's nature. Lots of different ways to say it. Okay, and paragraph 15. In the shorter practice periods, again make a declaration of what you really want. Say, I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. This should be repeated several times an hour. It is most important, however, to apply today's idea in this form immediately you are tempted to hold a grievance of any kind. This will help you let your grievances go instead of cherishing them and hiding them in darkness. Okay, well, there's what we're going to be using in our shorter practice periods. I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. And in the longer practice period, we will say, I will there be light. Let me behold the light that reflects God's will and mine. We will begin our longer practice periods with the recognition. This is in 10 again. I'm just rehashing. I'm trying to make sure you got this good so you can do your longer meditation. We will begin our longer practice periods with the recognition that God's plan for salvation and only His plan is wholly in accord with your will. No coercion to do this. This is your will, to be happy. And the only way to be happy is using the light, God's will, the light of God. It is not the purpose of an alien power thrust upon you unwillingly. It is the one purpose here on which you and your Father are in perfect accord. You will succeed today, the time appointed for the release of the Son of God from hell and from all idle wishes. His will is now restored to his awareness. He's willing this very day to look upon the light in him and be saved. He sees us a lot brighter than I think we see ourselves, huh? But we want to see ourselves this way as we enter into this longer practice period. After reminding yourself of this and determining to keep your will already in mind, tell yourself with gentle firmness and quiet certainty, I will there be light. Let me behold the light that reflects God's will and mine. Then let your will assert itself, joined with the power of God and united with yourself. Put the rest of the practice period under their guidance. Join with them as they lead the way. All right? So they will be leading the way to a bright, happy world where you realize that your will and God's are one. Until tomorrow, peace be with you.